Colby Cohen from Morning Cuppa Hockey, the former NHLer. Colby, do you fall asleep in the same position every night, or do you mix it up?
What? I thought we were going to talk about Cody Ceci.
Well, we couldn't ask Cody Ceci, so we had to ask you.
Do I fall asleep in the same position every night? Yes, for the most part, I would say I do. The thing is I have a 70-pound golden retriever that I think the show is very well familiar with.
Yeah.
I also have a 12-pound. I have no idea what he is. And it's kind of a war in our bed every night for space. You know, who's gonna, my wife takes up a bunch of space. She's long. So it's sometimes you just take the space that you got and you get as comfortable as you can.
You let both dogs sleep in the bed with you?
Well, I mean, is there any other way?
That is true.
You got to draw
So
the line somewhere.
No.
That's why you don't have a dog?
Yeah, it's hard to resist when they jump on the bed. It's so nice to, it's so cute.
My dogs are a part of our family. They have free reign. So
all right.
They eat better. They eat better than most human beings. Like it's just how I am with dogs.
Which brings up the point, what happened to Flex the Oilers dog, and why did they just randomly stop showing us content around that dog? No, we can shelve that for another day. Colby, let's talk about the actual Edmonton Oilers. What do you think of the game last night? This is a team that, I mean, they've been so hot and cold for the month of February, but they were so damn good in January. Like, we text a lot during the games, but what's the difference between the Oilers we're seeing now versus the Oilers we saw in January? Damn it.
I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I think it's puck management. I really do. I just think it's taking care of the puck and you know, making smart plays in between the blue lines. To me, it's what it all comes down to. And you know, I'm a little more dialed in on that right now. This week, I was doing film with the Titans, you know, the New Jersey local teams around here, you know, not super local for where I am, but whatever, you get the point. And we're working on, you know, getting the puck in behind the defenseman, not turning the puck over in the neutral zone. So I started looking, and I asked the players, they're U18s, they're junior aged, and then they're U16 aged. I'm like, who do you guys like to watch? Like, who are the players in the teams? And like, you know, I got a lot of players from Tampa. They like Kucherov. They like Point. They like seeing him. A couple guys. Yeah, I like Pasternak. I like Marchand. And then one kid's like, all right, I like Edmonton. I like I like McDavid. And I'm like, yeah, you and everybody else, right? So what I do is I try to find. I promise there's a point to what I'm talking about, by the way.
All right.
I try to find video. I go on Instat. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that program, Instat. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. And I start looking at these NHL teams that the players like, and I just do zone entries, right? Like good, bad, whatever. And you know, I just watch the way, and Boston hasn't played nearly as well, but there's a difference in how they manage the puck versus how Edmonton managed the puck lines 1 through 4. There just is. Guys are, you know, getting through the neutral zone, putting pucks into space. It's almost like Edmonton gets really stubborn in the neutral zone, and they don't want to make those little chip plays to advance. They want to hold on to the puck. They want to lug it. And it's just a lot of turnovers, whether it's between the Blues, whether it's a foot or two inside the red line, and it just puts a lot more stress on them. And then on top of it, they're getting average goaltending again. They really are. And I know they win again last night, but like Stuart Skinner doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies going into the playoffs. Like he just doesn't. And I kind of look at it as like the law of averages a little bit. The Edmonton Oilers started the season out bad, right? I mean, it was rough. And then they looked like the best team in the league for a while. And I think you kind of have to throw those two things out and have to look at who have they been in between, right? They've been a team that's been up, they've been down, they win some high-scoring games, they start a little slow, they are able to claw back because they have a guy by the name of McDavid. I mean, look what he did last night, right? I mean, it's just another example of how he can just will his team into a win. But like, I think they need to be really aggressive. I heard the CC chat. I was listening to the show before I came on. I think Ken Holland needs to do more. Like, I think he needs to push his chips in, like all in. I really do. I don't like the way that the team is playing consistently right now. I don't feel confident in them, going deep into the playoffs, just the way that they're playing right now. And they need to make some personnel changes. They really do. And I'll be nervous if they kind of stay the course and go into the playoffs looking the way that they've looked.
What would you consider all in?
I think they need to make a major push, for Jake Gensel. I think is a name they should really, really look into bringing in. I think any quality defenseman that is or isn't available, I think they need to look at. Listen, just because it's the trade deadline doesn't mean you can only get guys on expiring deals. It doesn't mean Walker's the only guy and Sealer's the only guy available. You can trade for a player with term. You can. You know what I mean? You just got to be willing to put the package together. And I think they need help on defense. I really do. I mean, look, I like the way Bouchard has been playing, and not just because he's scoring goals. I really do. I think he's upped his game in every area. I think that the top pair has been, those two guys together. But just in general, like I really do. I think they need upgrades. I think they need upgrades on their second and third pair. I think they need upgrades on their third and fourth line. Like they just do.
Yeah, they probably need to make 3 additions. I think 2 forwards and a D-man are a must ahead of the deadline. As you take a look, like it would be nice to honestly not have one of Gagne or Ryan as your fourth line center and not have Connor Brown in the lineup on a game-to-game basis. So I think they will do. They're not going to stand pat. There's no way Ken Holland, in what could be his last year as a GM in this league, is going to sit there and be like, I should save these bullets. Never know when I'm going to need them again. Like, no, he'll make some sort of a splash. One guy who's been unbelievable this year, and I want your thoughts on him, Zach Hyman, 40 goals. He might go down as one of, if not the best free agent signings of the salary cap era. He's already in that conversation. 40 for him. Colby, he might finish the year with like 58 or 59 goals.
Yeah, I mean, he knows where to put himself, and I don't really want to hear this. Well, he plays with McDavid. He scores all of his goals on top of the net. Yeah, no shit. That's where goals are scored from. Like seriously, remember that chart I sent you a couple of weeks ago, Tyler? Mm-hmm. The guy goes where goals happen, and he stands there fearlessly. But it's not luck. Okay, like he knows where to put himself, to be in position to score these goal scorer type of goals. And, he's relentless on top of the crease. I've been on your show before, and I've talked about his ability to find sort of depth spacing around the net. He's not right on top of the goalie. He moves himself around. He gets himself enough distance between him and the top of the crease. His hand-eye coordination is in that area as good as anybody in the NHL. And look, he's willing to sit there and take the cross checks on the lower back and take the hacks and the whacks. And I agree. Like,
oh no, where's Colby? No. Well, Colby's gone. We've lost Colby, or did we?
Colby's
did we lose back. Colby? All right.
Now you're back.
Sorry. I had no idea. I was ranting and raving. I didn't realize that I was on the Frozen train. But I think that Zach Hyman's just proven himself time and time again to be a guy who's willing to score goals the dirty way. And come playoff time, those are guys who have a lot of value. They really do. And so I love the guy's game. I mean, I text you about him every time the Oilers are playing.
Yeah. All right. Last one from me.
Oh, I got one.
Oh, okay. You go, Liam. You go.
So I saw the clip that went out yesterday, Colby, of you talking about how fan bases boost up their players. And I think Matt Barzal was someone you said who wasn't a star. I'm curious when you look at
Liam, just to be fair,
a league superstar.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. He is a very good player. Don't get me wrong.
I think he sucks, but continue.
Okay. So my question is, who on the Oilers do you think people overrate highly from a fan base perspective, and who do you think they undervalue for how good they actually are?
Well, look, it's a hard. I have their DFO line chart here on my phone. As you guys are pulling up for me as well. Look, yeah, I think the guy who maybe comes to mind a little bit might be Warren Fogle. He might be a guy that is a little bit overvalued in Edmonton. It doesn't mean he's not a useful player. It doesn't mean he's not a decent NHL player, but he might be a guy that you fall in love with a little bit. Who if he went somewhere else and people were unfamiliar with him, he potentially could find his way back onto a fourth line somewhere. Or potentially a guy who you never know, like as his career moves on, maybe a borderline American League player at some point. I'm not necessarily. It's funny. Edmonton Oilers fans don't come for me on social media as much, so I don't see necessarily their feelings and whatnot on players quite like I do more in these Eastern markets, like whether it's Rangers, Devils, Islanders, Flyers. Like those fan bases seem to get more riled up at me lately. And yeah, I just think that happens in general. And I actually admittedly did the same thing when I was in Chicago, Liam. Like I watched the same guys over and over, practicing every day, playing every day. The team was terrible, but I'd be like, all right, maybe there's something there with this guy. When the reality is, then I flip on the TV and watch a team like Boston, and I'm like, 75% of these players would be playing in their American League lineup. So I do think, especially in the American markets, I think in Canada, it's the opposite. I think you guys actually sometimes kill your own guys a little bit. And you guys are super hard on your players, like the NFL probably is in America. It's a more what have you done for me lately situation, I think, with Canadian hockey fans, because I think the passion is higher. I really do. So I think it's kind of goes the other way, probably more with your group in Edmonton and some of these other Canadian markets. But I do stand by what I say, and I do not believe Matt Barzal is an elite player in the NHL. He's a good player. He's a very good player. He's talented. He could win a skills competition. But if he's your quote unquote, and he certainly isn't in my eyes, your franchise player, you are not winning a Stanley Cup under any circumstance.
Have you great clips question?
Do we have a great clips question?
Yeah, there was one
Colby?
about Holloway.
Oh yeah, there was one. You've talked about Holloway before. This was going to be one of my takes from the game last night, and it was we saw Nuge, Janmark, and Kane as a line. They were fine. Yep. Nothing to complain about, but there was 3-4 shifts where they went Holloway, Kane, and Nuge, and it was like the whole line felt faster, and Holloway's getting in the mix. The shot attempts were 6-0 in 2.5 minutes. I know they started in the offensive zone a couple of times with that, but I think, and maybe Colby, this is going to end up being more of a question about like player development, and I wrote about this the other day. A guy like Logan Stankoven in Dallas comes up to the NHL, 15 minutes a night, boom, fits in, is starting to produce right from the jump. The Oilers are sitting there with Holloway playing him 7.5 minutes against the Calgary Flames. Like, I think what they should do in the 8 days leading up to the deadline when they play, 4 times? Yeah. Staple him next to Nugent Kane, figure out what you have in him. Why are you wasting this guy's time on the fourth line? Are you more in the force the player to earn it in a fourth line role, or give the player opportunity and see if he can succeed?
I would say there's no two situations are the same, Tyler, but I'm with you on the Holloway train. Like, he's useless on the fourth line. There's absolutely no reason for this player to be playing 7.5 minutes a night in the NHL. And if you think he's outgrown the American League, then you don't think he fits on your NHL roster. And I think this is one of those situations where GM and coach probably see things slightly different, which is common in the NHL. Sometimes a general manager will call up a player and sort of see one thing for him, and a coach will not see that fit or not be willing to use a player to that fit. I 100% agree, though. Dylan Holloway is never going to be a successful fourth line player in the NHL. You're just asking him to be something that he's never been, and he probably never will be. And so I think you want to set your prospects up and your young talent up for success. And I love how Dallas did it. And look, I can draw from my own situation, guys, going back to when I got my first NHL call up, and this is fact checkable information. My first night in the league, I played 18.5 minutes. I played on the first power play unit, and I was given every chance to be successful. They kept throwing me out, and they put me with John Michael Lyles, and I started the game, and it was like they wanted to make me successful, right? Obviously, I had to stand up on my own 2 feet. The next night we played Calgary. We lost that game. I played 20 plus minutes that night, maybe 21 or 22. Same thing. I was out on a 5-on-3 power play. So they were putting me in a situation to be successful because they understood who I was and what my skill set was. I don't think it's smart to have Dylan Holloway. What was he, a top 5 pick, if I remember? Something like that, top 8 pick, something. I don't remember the number exactly, but you got to give that guy an opportunity to, show what his skills are and what's made him successful. And we've yet to see him get an opportunity to consistently do that. And yeah, give him a 10-day audition in the top 6. Don't pull him out the first time something goes wrong. Leave him there for 10 days, whatever it may be, up to the deadline, 8 days, and see what he can do. I totally agree with you and disagree with the approach of the Edmonton Oilers on the way that they have used Dylan Holloway.
Love it. That is our Great Clips inbox question for Colby. With more than 4,400 hair salons throughout the United States and Canada, Great Clips is the world's largest hair salon brand and the official hair salon of the NHL. Locally owned and operated, open 7 days a week. And if you need to save time, because time's valuable, Liam,
extremely,
you can use the Great Clips check-in app. Great Clips, it's going to be great. Colby, let us see the hair before you go for Great Clips. Good man. Look at that.
A good head of lettuce.
That's a nice head of hair. Colby, thanks for doing this.
It's not as pretty and curly as Liam's, but, I try.
All right, there you go. Colby Cohen on the Star Mechanical Guest Line. See you, Colby.
See you, Colby.
See you guys.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.